Hi everyone, Theodore Monteverde here, delivering a webinar. So for today's webinar, we'll be looking into interest rates and the Royal Bank of New Zealand. Now, what are interest rates? Interest rates help determine the value of the currency. So the high interest rates increase the strength of the currency against other countries with lower rates. Now, this is a major factor influencing currency value and exchange rates. And as a result, when we increase interest rates, this could potentially help attract FDIs or foreign direct investments into the country, thus increasing the demand value of the currency, and also happens vice versa. When decreasing interest rates, this would discourage FDIs to encourage the country and thus decrease the demand value of the currency. So now, how does interest rates play into picture with the Royal Bank of New Zealand? So for this week, it'll be a major week for the New Zealand dollar. Major news will be released on Thursday, August 11, on the monetary policies and interest rates, alongside Governor Reader's speech. So this is a picture I've taken from ForexFactory.com. Now, as you can see, on Thursday, August 11, there'll be a couple of newses related to the New Zealand dollar. So on 6 a.m., the Royal Bank of New Zealand will be releasing its official cash rate, a rate statement, and a monetary policy statement. And on 7 a.m., there will be a RBNZ press conference. And on 10:10 a.m., RBNZ Governor Wheeler will be delivering a speech about the policies and statements alongside the interest rate cuts. Now, what are the other factors I've taken into account on the reason why I've selected this topic? So last week, we've seen the Royal Bank of Australia cut its interest rates, and we do know that the two pairs share similar dependence on both the regional bond and a commodity-based economy. So since RBA cut rates last week, we can expect the same for the RBNZ. Now, Wheeler may decide to bring down the interest rate from 2.25% down to 2%. And since the RBNZ has been relatively weak these past few days. Now, this is another chart I've taken from finviz.com to see where the New Zealand dollar is at right now. So currently, the price of the New Zealand dollar is priced at 0.723. And as we can see here at this half chart, um, it's been struggling to break through the resistance 0.7200. Now, with the interest rate cut, I believe that the New Zealand dollar may be heading down to 0.700 support. And one other thing I've also noticed in the chart pattern is a W formation between the last week of June and to the early of August. Now, my predictions of the next W pattern will be inverted, and thus supporting my previous statement of the New Zealand dollar potentially falling down to the 0.700 boundary. And that's what we want to catch. So the trade idea for the New Zealand dollar of this week will be on a sell basis. Now, let's look at it on a much on a much more specific perspective when it comes to currency pairs. Now, this is the chart of the New Zealand dollar against the USD. Now, last week we know that non-farm payroll was really good, and thus bringing down the New Zealand dollar all the way down to a price of 0.71362. Now, uh, since I've also included several leading indicators to help determine where the New Zealand dollar is heading. So these leading indicators I use are the Ichimoku cloud and the stochastic oscillator. So these two tools will be helping me out in determining the flow and direction of the New Zealand dollar against several other currency pairs. And right now, I'll be focusing on the New Zealand dollar and the US dollar. So as you can see in the picture here, I've drawn boxes to help determine the Monday highs and Monday lows, and also the other day highs and lows to take into consideration to label the support and resistances of these days. and to also help me in predicting where the New Zealand dollar will be heading. So as you can see here, I've colored green two specific price indices, namely one higher than that of of the current value and one lower than that of the current value. So why did I decide to like put a value that's higher than the current value? As you can see here, in both the oscillators, both in the Ichimoku and also the stochastic oscillator, they're both indicating a buy. So perhaps before the RBNZ decides to cut rate, the New Zealand dollar will rally against against the US dollar. So I've decided to put an or to perhaps put an order here at the value of 0.7449, and that would be a sell order. Now, if you're feeling conservative, I've also included a value that you could also input in your trade idea. That's namely at 0.71213. Now, my predictions for the New Zealand dollar will decrease against other currencies. So I've also taken into account last week's highs and lows to determine other supports and resistances to where the New Zealand dollar may be heading. So again, pegged against the USD, I believe that the New Zealand dollar may fall to the boundary of 0.70617. Now that's my most optimistic prediction where the New Zealand dollar is heading. However, I've also included other price indices that you may also put your total profit at, namely at 0.70979, 0.77857, and 0.70779. And now we look also into the daily chart of the NZD against the USD. Now, as you see here, it also indicates a strong sell on the stochastic oscillator. So, for conservatives, the price value I mentioned earlier, below the current price, may be the option you may take for this week's NZD against USD sell. And at the same time, if you're if you want to take a risk, there's you can also take the higher price since on the hourly basis it also indicates that it's a strong buy. Next currency pair we'll be looking at would be the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now I've also done the same thing what I did with the US dollar. So I've labeled this week's highs and lows to help determine my support and resistances, and also my predictions of where the New Zealand dollar will be heading. Now, about the British pound, now this last week we've seen the Bank of England cutting interest rates, and thus the GBP significantly weakened against the NZD. However, based uh, based on based on my leading indicators, there's a strong downward trend. So, which is why I decided to put my orders below. Um, now, this orders now would be a buy order against the NZD. Since the NZD will be cutting rates this week, the GBP will momentarily strengthen against the NZD. So I predict that the movement of the GBP against the NZD will go down to at most 1.82585. Now those are my estimates to where the GBP and NZD will be heading before the rate cuts. Since my indicators point out that it's a strong sell, alongside with my daily chart where it shows there's a strong downward trend going on that's gonna take place, as well as my stochastic oscillator where we can see the red line over the green line. So where do I so what price values do I predict where the New Zealand dollar will be heading? Now, my most optimistic prediction for the GBP against NZD, the NZD will be significantly weak against the GBP, so it'll land perhaps at most at 1.84616. And my most conservative estimate for this, um, for the rate cut, would be at 1.83389. This is to take into account also the rate cut between the Bank of England and the Bank of New Zealand, since the Bank of England may have a lower interest rate compared to that of the Bank of New Zealand. So perhaps not that much movement may be observed. So at least, I predict that the New Zealand dollar will just be heading here to this certain range of 1.83389. Now, the next currency pair we'll be looking at will be the NZD against the Canadian dollar. So, taking into account from the results from Finviz, the Canadian dollar is expected to strengthen this week based on the technical analysis with W patterns forming. So, I predict that the NZD CAD will go down as the week goes by. And as you can see here, although my leading indicators haven't particularly fully formed yet, it shows that on a fundamental basis, since the Canadian dollar will strengthen, the New Zealand dollar will depreciate. So I decided to put my market entry here at the on the on the Monday low, namely at 0.93799. And now, where do I predict the movement of the NZD will be heading against the Canadian dollar? Now, my most optimistic prediction for this currency pair will be heading down to 0.93350. And alongside it, I've also indicated other certain price indices that you can take into account after the retracement has taken place. So these are the three values that you can take into account when the retracement takes place. Now, heading to the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, we all know that the Japanese yen was constantly bullied by other currencies these past weeks. And so perhaps the Bank of Japan may release its so-called helicopter money. So against the New Zealand dollar, that would significantly strengthen the New Zealand dollar, which explains why I placed two price indices above the current market price for the NZD against the JPY. Now, prefer if this were the case, then we would be setting our sell orders on this note. However, with this helicopter money, the JPY will be expected to depreciate in value. So there might be some problem when it comes to the movement between these two currencies, since the NZD will be cutting rate at the same time the JPY will be releasing helicopter money. So if the NZD were to release its interest rate cut first before the Bank of Japan may react to its current dilemma, I've also taken other price indices into consideration. So we can also take a sell order at this point at 72.561 as our starting sell limit, or our starting sell limit. So my most optimistic prediction for the movement of the NZD will go down to 72.186 after the rate cut. But if the JPY to depreciate way further, that would be a big question when it comes to trading the NZD and JPY pair. So for conservatives, I would recommend waiting before trading this currency pair and seeing in order to see the directional flow of the NZD and JPY this week, since the JPY, the Bank of Japan will be releasing statements um, about its financial plans for the JPY. And this concludes today's webinar. I hope you liked it. So hit the like button, subscribe, or tweet me. Um, I'll be able. I'll get back to you on those questions, and hopefully my answers help you out. Thank you.